Every single month, I used to wake up on the first and feel a pit in my stomach. Not because I was broke, not because I was behind on bills, but because I owned rental properties, and the first of the month meant something was about to go wrong. A toilet would break, a tenant would ghost me, an HOA would send me some passive-aggressive letter about a fence I didn't even know existed. I had done everything the internet told me to do. I bought properties, I house hacked, I scaled. I had 6 units by the time I was 31, and I had never been more stressed in my life. So let me tell you why I stopped buying rental properties, and more importantly, what I moved my money to instead. Because what I found on the other side was something that actually delivered on the promise that real estate was supposed to give me in the first place: real passive income. But first, let me be honest about what nobody tells you when you start buying rentals. They tell you to run the numbers, and the numbers always look beautiful on paper. You find a property for $200,000, you put 20% down, your mortgage is about $1,200 a month, you rent it out for $1,700, that's $500 a month in cash flow. Easy money, right? Wrong. That $500 is a fantasy. It's a number that exists in a vacuum where nothing ever breaks, no tenant ever leaves, and interest rates stay frozen in time. But we do not live in that world. In the real world, here's what happens to that $500. Property management takes 8 to 10% off the top. That's $170 gone. Maintenance and repairs eat another 10% of rental income on average. There goes another $170. Vacancy rates in most markets hover between 5 and 8%. Factor that in and you lose another $100. You're now sitting on maybe $60 a month in actual cash flow. $60 for a property you put $40,000 down on. That is a 1.8% cash-on-cash return before anything goes wrong. And something always goes wrong. I had a tenant once who stopped paying rent for 3 months. 3 months of carrying a mortgage, insurance, and taxes out of my own pocket. When I finally started the eviction process, it cost me $2,000 in legal fees and took another 2 months. That one tenant wiped out an entire year of cash flow across 2 properties. One person, one situation, and I was the one bleeding the money. But here's the part that really got to me. The part that no one talks about in those YouTube videos with the drone shots of apartment buildings. It is not passive. Not even close. I was fielding calls at 11 at night about a water heater. I was spending weekends showing units. I was comparing quotes from contractors and getting lied to half the time. I was logging into my bank account every morning like it was a slot machine, hoping nothing had gone sideways overnight. This was not financial freedom. This was a second job. A second job that paid worse than my first one. And then interest rates went up. That changed everything. When I started buying, rates were hovering around 3.5%. By the time I was looking at my 7th property, rates had climbed past 7. The math just stopped working. Properties that would have cash flowed at 3% interest were now bleeding at 7. The deal pipeline dried up, the margins vanished, and suddenly every real estate guru online started getting real quiet about cash flow and started pivoting to appreciation plays and long-term holds. Which is just code for we're not making money right now, but maybe later we will. I did not get into real estate to hope for maybe later. I got into it because I wanted income now. Predictable, consistent, actual income. And when the model stopped delivering that, I had a choice to make. Keep forcing a strategy that was actively making my life worse, or find something better. I found something better. The first thing I moved my money into was REITs, real estate investment trusts. These are companies that own and operate income-producing real estate, shopping centers, apartment complexes, office towers, medical facilities. You buy shares just like you would buy a stock, and they are legally required to pay out at least 90% of their taxable income to shareholders as dividends. Let me say that again. They are required by law to pay you. No tenants, no toilets, no 2 a.m. phone calls, no evictions, no contractors, no property managers skimming off the top. You buy shares and you get paid. That is it. And the returns are not small. Over the last 20 years, REITs have arranged roughly 10 to 12% annual returns. Some of the best performing REITs pay dividend yields of 4 to 6% consistently. And you can reinvest those dividends automatically, which compounds your returns without you lifting a finger. Compare that to my rental portfolio. I had over $200,000 in equity tied up in properties that were netting me maybe $400 a month total after all expenses. That same $200,000 in a diversified REIT portfolio paying a 5% dividend would generate $10,000 a year. That is $833 a month, more than double what my rentals were producing, with zero work, zero stress, zero liability. But REITs were just the beginning. The second thing I moved into was broad market index funds. The S&P 500 has averaged about 10% annually over the last 50 years. When you invest in an index fund, you're buying a tiny piece of 500 of the largest companies in America: Apple, Microsoft, Google, Johnson & Johnson. You're not picking stocks. You're not timing the market. You are owning the market. And here's what makes this powerful for building real income. If you invest $500 a month into the S&P 500 index fund starting at age 30, by the time you're 55, you'll have over $600,000. And that's assuming average historical returns with zero extra contributions beyond that $500 a month. At a 4% withdrawal rate, that portfolio generates $24,000 a year in passive income, forever, without touching the principal. Now, combine that with a REIT portfolio generating another $10,000 to $15,000 a year in dividends, you're looking at $35,000 to $40,000 a year in truly passive income. No tenants, no maintenance, no late-night emergencies, just money working for you while you sleep. The third thing I did was build a simple Treasury bond ladder. Bonds and Treasury bills are backed by the United States government. They are the safest investment on the planet. And right now, short-term treasuries are yielding over 4%. I keep 6 months of expenses in a treasury ladder that matures on a rolling basis. It acts as my safety net and still pays me more than a high-yield savings account. My money's protected and productive at the same time. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying real estate is a scam. It's not. There are people who build incredible wealth through rental properties. But those people usually have one thing in common. They treat it like a full-time business. They have teams, they have systems, they have scale. And most importantly, they got in when the math worked. For the average person watching this right now, someone with a day job, limited time, and a desire to build real wealth without becoming a landlord, the stock market and REITs offer something rental properties never gave me: simplicity, liquidity, diversification, and actual passive income. I don't manage anything anymore. I don't chase rental payments. I do not negotiate with contractors. I check my portfolio once a week and I watch my dividends and returns compound month after month. That is what financial freedom was supposed to feel like. And I had to give up 6 rental units to finally find it. So if you're sitting there right now scrolling through Zillow at midnight, running numbers on a duplex, dreaming about cash flow, I want you to ask yourself one question. Do you want to be a landlord or do you want to be free? Because those are two very different things.